Most people don't lose love because they didn't care enough. They lose it because they cared without understanding the rules. No one warns you that the person you're fighting for might be teaching you how to abandon yourself. No one tells you that love can feel intense and still be wrong. And no one prepares you for the moment you realize the lessons you're learning now were supposed to protect you years ago. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. Because once you see the patterns, you can't unsee them, and everything changes. Stay with me until the end. One of these rules may explain the heartbreak you never fully healed from. Comment where you're watching from and subscribe for more truth that actually saves your heart. Most people enter love thinking it's something that happens to them. They wait for the right person to notice them, to choose them, to validate their worth. And when that attention comes, even if it's fleeting or conditional, they feel like they've won. But real love doesn't work that way. Love isn't a lottery where you hope your name gets called. It's a deliberate choice, made again and again, about who you decide to invite into your life and why. This is the first rule most people learn too late. Love isn't about being chosen, it's about choosing wisely. When you realize this, everything changes. You stop confusing attention for affection, desire for compatibility, and attraction for alignment. You start seeing that chasing someone who isn't fully present or who doesn't meet your emotional needs is a slow form of self-erasure. It's easy to get swept away by chemistry, excitement, or intensity. Those feelings are seductive, they're loud, they're intoxicating, but they are not proof of a healthy, lasting bond. Choosing someone carefully doesn't make the experience less thrilling. It makes it sustainable. Choosing wisely requires awareness of yourself first. You cannot recognize the right person without knowing your own boundaries, values, and what you genuinely need. Many people spend years in relationships that feel thrilling on the surface, only to find that underneath there was misalignment, differences in vision, in emotional language, in long-term goals. This is why heartbreak hits so hard. We often blame the other person. But the truth is, our early mistakes in choosing set the stage for it. If you choose out of loneliness, fear, or pressure, the universe is not punishing you. It's giving you a mirror to see what you didn't want to see. There's also courage in this kind of love. Choosing wisely means sometimes walking away from someone you're deeply attracted to because they aren't right for you. It means saying no when your heart is screaming yes, simply because your mind knows what's best for you in the long term. And this is where the wisdom of timing comes in. Love is not about rushing. It's about patience, clarity, and the willingness to accept that what is meant for you will align naturally without forcing it or compromising who you are. So the lesson here is simple, yet profound. Stop waiting to be chosen as if love is a prize. Step into the power of choice. Decide consciously who you let into your heart. And remember, choosing wisely isn't a rejection of love. It's the only way to experience it fully. When you do this, you don't just find someone to be with, you find someone who elevates who you already are. And that is the foundation of every lasting, meaningful connection. Love often feels like it should be loud, dramatic, and all-consuming. The movies tell us that if it's real, it will knock us off our feet, make our hearts race, and keep us awake at night. And early in relationships, that intensity can feel intoxicating. Every text, every late-night call, every grand gesture seems to confirm that this is the one. But here's the truth: most people learn too late. Intensity is not the same as consistency, and excitement does not equal security. What makes love endure is not how wild it feels in the moment, but how steady it remains when the initial rush fades. Most heartbreak comes not from a lack of passion, but from a lack of reliability. Someone can say all the right things, send all the right signals, and still be emotionally unpredictable. They might appear deeply engaged one day and distant the next. And if we mistake these fluctuations for depth, we train our hearts to crave chaos instead of calm. Real love shows up in the quiet, ordinary moments, when texts are replied to thoughtfully, when promises are kept, when presence is constant without fanfare. This is the subtle rhythm of affection that lasts. Understanding this requires a shift in perspective. We are conditioned to romanticize grand gestures, late-night drama, and emotional highs. But lasting connection is built on patterns, not peaks. It's in the repeated small acts of care, respect, and attention that trust is built. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Someone who may not sweep you off your feet in every moment, but who consistently shows up, listens, and respects your boundaries is far more valuable than someone whose love is spectacular yet fleeting. Patterns speak louder than passion because they reveal character over time. Consistency also protects your heart. When you learn to value steadiness over sparks, you stop confusing emotional storms with true intimacy. You recognize when someone's affection is performative or conditional, and you no longer invest in instability. This awareness isn't about reducing romance, it's about elevating it. It's about understanding that security in love allows freedom, not restriction. When both partners are reliable and emotionally present, love feels expansive rather than anxious. So the lesson here is profound yet simple. Don't chase fireworks. Look for the quiet, dependable presence that proves love can last beyond infatuation. When you prioritize consistency over intensity, you protect your heart while creating space for a love that grows deeper, steadier, and more fulfilling with every passing day. Intensity fades, but reliability endures. And in the end, the love that survives is never the one that shouts the loudest. It's the one that shows up day after day, without fail. Most people spend their lives searching for love as if it exists outside themselves. They look for validation in texts, approval in attention, and security in someone else's affection. But here's the rule that comes too late for many. The relationship you have with yourself sets the ceiling for every other relationship you will ever have. If you tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or neglect from yourself, you will unknowingly allow it from others. Love cannot rise higher than the standards you hold for your own heart. It starts with self-awareness. You cannot expect someone else to understand your needs if you haven't first defined them for yourself. You cannot expect respect if you haven't demanded it in your own life. Most heartbreaks happen not because the other person is cruel, but because we didn't clearly communicate or enforce our boundaries from the start. Without that internal foundation, we enter relationships out of habit, loneliness, or fear, and end up repeating patterns that teach us pain instead of growth. Self-love is not selfish. It is the anchor that keeps you steady when storms arrive. It allows you to notice early warning signs that many overlook: small lies, fading attention, or emotional absence. When you are grounded in your own worth, you no longer bend yourself to fit someone else's agenda. You stop excusing what hurts and start valuing what nourishes. The love you cultivate for yourself sets the example of what you will accept and what you will not. The most profound connections come not from rescuing each other, but from choosing each other while fully intact. When you have a solid relationship with yourself, love becomes an addition, not a necessity. You enter relationships from a place of abundance, not desperation. And suddenly, what once felt chaotic or painful begins to make sense: the heartbreaks, the mismatched partners, the repeated disappointments. They were all lessons teaching you how to love yourself first, so you could finally recognize a love that matches it. So remember this: before you can find someone who elevates you, you must first elevate yourself. The moment you start honoring your own heart, your mind, and your boundaries, you create a blueprint for the kind of love that lasts. And that is the love that changes everything.